because God doesn't do this with just anyone. He doesn't entrust weight to someone who collapses under any opinion. He doesn't entrust levels to someone who needs applause to keep going. He doesn't entrust a path to someone who quits when they don't understand. So if you're living these signs, don't panic. Adjust your circle, adjust your routine, adjust your inner dialogue, adjust the way you interpret what you're living. For example, if you're in isolation, don't use it to punish yourself, use it to strengthen yourself. Lower the noise, cut what drains you, stop chasing people who are already gone. Make peace with the quiet. Quiet is not the enemy when God is using it. If you're in mental warfare, don't insult yourself for feeling. Don't call yourself weak. Don't call yourself crazy. What you're experiencing has an explanation. And if you remember only one line today, let it be this: not everything you think deserves your faith. Some thoughts only want your attention, because with your attention, they redirect your steps. Abandonment still hits you too deep. Rejection still wounds you too much. And up there, that becomes expensive. That insistence is born when God places direction inside you. So if lately you've been saying, "I don't know what's happening to me," it may be that you do know, you just hadn't seen it through this lens. You feel like a target, because you are. Not from paranoia, not from drama, but because when God anoints you, you become relevant even before your life becomes famous, and what is relevant attracts resistance. Don't confuse delay with defeat. Some delays are saving you from entering too early into a place that would have broken you. Don't confuse separation with loss. Some separations are liberation because some people wanted you close, but they wanted you asleep. And don't confuse mental war with identity. Some wars begin when the enemy knows that if he steals your peace, he steals your step. It sounds simple, but it gives you authority back, because what you don't name will dominate you. Now there's another way they attack you. They give you a heavy emotion and present it as truth. You feel useless and think, "I am useless." You feel alone and think, "I'm disposable." You feel behind and think, "I'm lost." But an emotion is a signal, not a judge. It passes. It moves. It does not have the right to dictate your destiny. Dangerously anointed people often live this contrast. Outside calm, inside battle, and nobody sees it because you're not drama, you're just trying to stay steady. And that steadiness, even if it doesn't look like it, is part of your anointing. So look at what we're building. Sign 1, invisible battles. Sign 2, separation. Sign 3, mental and emotional attack. And now comes sign number 4, the one I told you is the most dangerous, because this one can make you doubt God. And the wildest part is it looks normal. Delays, pauses, and closed doors that make no sense. You're ready. You did what you had to do. You prepared. You prayed. You organized. And then everything freezes. They say yes, then at the last minute it falls apart. They promise an opportunity, then disappear. A door opens, you take 2 steps, and it slams shut. And you stand there staring at the wall like it's your fault. And that's where 2 dangerous thoughts are born. God left me, and I was wrong. But listen carefully. When God anoints you, many times He also protects you from places that would have broken you. And protection doesn't always feel like a hug. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like no. Sometimes it feels like delay. There are doors you wanted because they looked like progress, but inside they were a trap. There are places where they would have applauded you, yes, but they would have drained you, mixed you up, distracted you, made you sell yourself cheap. So God closes the door not to humiliate you, but to safeguard you. Here's a simple example. You were about to partner with someone. That is the spark God put in you, and it doesn't die because of one bad week. I am telling you like I am face to face with you. Some people break and stay on the ground, and I'm not saying that to judge. Everyone fights their own battles, but there are others who, even when they break, rebuild. Even when they don't know how, they return, and that inner insistence is a sign. Dangerously anointed people aren't the ones who feel no pain. They're the ones who learn how to give pain meaning. They understand that fire doesn't always come to destroy. Sometimes it comes to refine. Sometimes it comes to remove what's fake. Sometimes it comes to bring out shine. Paul said it in a brutal way. Pressed, but not crushed. Struck down, but not destroyed. That's the image. Pressure touches you, but it doesn't define you. The storm pushes you, but it doesn't swallow you, because there's something in you that holds. But listen calmly. dangerously anointed people go through seasons where what looks like setback is actually covering. What looks like isolation is actually selection. What looks like pressure is actually training. And I am not telling you this to hype you up. I am telling you so you don't make decisions from exhaustion. Because when you feel like a target, you react. And if you react wrongly, you hand yourself over to anxiety, to anger, to the need to explain yourself, to urgency, to the wrong people. And that's where many lose themselves, not because they lack anointing, but because they panic. Look, when God marks you, your life starts requiring something it didn't require before. Discernment. Discernment to not share your war with just anyone. Discernment to not respond to every provocation. Discernment to not open the door to what looks good but steals your focus. Discernment to understand not everyone who approaches you wants to see you rise. And I'll tell you something strong but necessary. The most common mistake of someone dangerously anointed is trying to return to their old life, just to stop feeling pressure, going back to people who no longer fit, going back to habits that dim you, going back to places that distract you, going back to smaller versions of yourself so nobody feels uncomfortable. That feels like relief, but it's a slow resignation. You're not here to fit in, you're here to fulfill. And yes, that will cost you comfort, approval, speed, friendships, nights, but it will also give you something the world can't offer: authority. When God anoints you, your life doesn't get easier, it gets more watched. Because the day heaven marks you, you become a target. And suddenly, strange things start happening. People who used to cheer for you now misread you. Doors that were open start closing, and your mind carries a pressure that makes no sense. It's not bad luck. You're not overreacting. These are signs that you are dangerously anointed. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you 5 signs. And sign number 4 is the most dangerous. It looks like a normal pause, but it's actually God, preventing you from walking into what you're not supposed to enter. If even one of these is happening to you, everything is about to click into place. And before we begin, I need you to do something simple. If in the past few days you've felt like something invisible is pushing you, stopping you, or examining you, type target in the comments. Not out of obligation, so you don't feel alone. More people are living this exact thing. In silence. First sign: battles start that nobody can see, and you barely know how to explain them. I'm not talking about normal problems. I'm talking about that strange feeling of looking fine on the outside, but inside it feels like something is squeezing your chest. You go to bed tired, and you wake up even more tired. You pour your coffee, wash your face, go through your day, and out of nowhere, a cloud drops on you like someone turned the volume down on your joy. And the worst part is, you look at your life and say, I shouldn't feel like this. Nothing happened, so why does it feel heavy? If you've asked that question, that alone is a sign. When God truly anoints you, He doesn't just give you purpose. He makes you visible in a realm where most people aren't seen. And when something in you starts to shine, even if you never announce it, darkness detects it. That's why the pressure shows up before the public applause. That's why the attack comes before the promotion. That's why you feel resistance the moment you decide to obey. Look at this. Some people get upset with you for no clear reason. You didn't do anything, but something about your presence irritates them. It's not that you're perfect. There are seasons where silence is not abandonment, it's covering. There are seasons where wait is not defeat, it's training. Now listen to this and hold on to it, because it'll serve you in the next few minutes. If the war intensified, it's most likely because your direction became clearer. And when your direction becomes clear, the enemy stops guessing. And when he stops guessing, he starts aiming. That's why the first sign is invisible. The first sign is felt, not performed. And if you've been fighting without anybody noticing, without being able to explain it, without trying to be dramatic, just trying to stay standing, this doesn't condemn you. It reveals you. But it's not the only sign. Because when that battle shows up, it almost always comes with something that hurts even more. Second sign. You start ending up alone, even though you never asked for it. Not because the world hates you, but because God starts separating you. And this stings, this hurts, this confuses you, because all you wanted was to move forward and suddenly people vanish. Friends who swore they'd be with you go cold. Conversations get short. Invitations disappear. Messages get left unread. And you don't know if you did something wrong. And because you don't want to look proud, you blame yourself. You think, Maybe I was too intense. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I changed. But then you check your heart and say, I only tried to do the right thing. So why did they let me go? Here is the truth. Nobody tells you when God anoints you. Not everyone can walk with you once your life starts meaning something. Not everyone can handle the discipline your destiny requires. Not everyone loves the version of you that stops living for approval. Separation isn't always punishment. A lot of the time, it's protection. Because if God is going to lift you, He will first clear the path. And sometimes the path is cleared by removing fake company. Sometimes it's cleared by pulling you away from noise. Sometimes it's cleared by placing you in silence. And if you're in that season, I am going to speak to you like someone carrying responsibility. Dan T, tell your process to just anyone. Don't hand your fragile side to people who feed on gossip. Don't seek counsel from people who only know how to mock. Because there are seasons where God is teaching you to depend on Him, not applause. Think about David. He was chosen to reign, but he got sent back to the field. Not because he wasn't useful, but because he still needed endurance, character, and to learn how to win small battles when nobody was watching. Think about Joseph. He was shown greatness, but he ended up in a pit, and then in a prison. And the cruelest part wasn't the location. It was the feeling of being forgotten, the feeling that the dream was mocking him. And yet, that's where his strength was forged. That's what happens when God anoints you in a dangerous way. He pulls you aside to strengthen you. He cuts distraction to sharpen your focus. He puts you in a quiet room so you can hear what you couldn't hear before. And here comes the turn that will hurt, but it will free you. Some people leave not because you were wrong. They leave because you no longer fit their comfort. They leave because your discipline confronts their disorder. They leave because your growth reminds them of what they refuse to face. If you ended up alone, don't humiliate yourself begging. Don't crawl for crumbs of attention. Don't negotiate your peace for a table where you're merely tolerated. If God separated you, it's because there are things in you that cannot keep being contaminated. And if this is describing you, subscribe right now, because what's coming will help you walk through this season without breaking inside. Not because you need more videos, but because you need constant reminders when loneliness tightens its grip. Now, third sign, and this one confuses people the most, because it feels like you are the problem. Your mind becomes a battlefield. It's not just tiredness. It's not just stress. It's like someone knows exactly which button to press to knock you off center. You wake up and there's already mental noise. You lie down and the noise doesn't leave. You sit to pray, to think, to breathe, and still your mind interrupts you, and the interrogation starts. What if I fail? What if it wasn't for me? What if God never spoke to me? What if I was wrong? What if I stay alone forever? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not enough? And the most unfair part is this. Right when you had a moment of clarity, a valley shows up. Right when you felt peace, a wave hits. Right when you dared to take a step, a storm erupts in your head. That happened to Elijah. He saw fire fall. He saw victory. And then he found himself under a tree asking to die. What kind of contrast is that? It's the kind of contrast that shows up when you're carrying something real. Because peaks attract valleys, and the enemy can't steal your calling, but he tries to steal your courage. So he attacks the most sensitive zone, your imagination, your interpretation, your self-worth, your patience. He makes you replay every word you said. He makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries. He makes you think you bother people just by existing. He makes you feel weird for being different. And if you don't guard yourself, you'll end up apologizing for your purpose. Listen to me. Pressure in your mind doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're at a level where surviving isn't enough anymore. You're at a level where you need to govern yourself, and that can be learned. Here's what it looks like in everyday life. Suddenly you feel fear for no reason, not fear of something specific. An abstract fear, like something bad is about to happen. Your body tightens. Your breathing gets shallow. Your thoughts go to the worst-case scenario. And in that moment, if you don't have tools, you swallow the whole movie. But today, I'll give you a simple key, because this is practical. When that wave comes, don't negotiate with it, name it. Say quietly, this is war in my mind. This is not my identity.